Tashidilek, welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly feature in English that tells you about this week's news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Central Tibetan Administration. Let us look at the headlines today. Tibetan tradition can be helpful to the world, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said. China imprisons Tibetan nomad for posting on social media regarding His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Tibetans and Tibet supporters rejoice passage of United States Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020. It is high time India has a clear policy on Tibet, said R.K. Kirme. Anand Dawa, last surviving personal bodyguard of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, passes away at 83. Office of Tibet Canberra hosts virtual discussion in celebration of gratitude to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. New edition of book Hidden Tibet released in Russian. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said Tibetan tradition can be of benefit to the world at large. Speaking to the audience during a live virtual teaching Sunday last week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, "We Tibetans should not lament what we have lost, but rather be proud that our traditions can be helpful to others."
그러나 아주 전주어 샤샤네 당 아주 롱버체 전주어 샤니 다 인삼에 심 shum무고 봐 아주 리슝 띵서정 아주 열에 아주 전문이 디간에 편도 제돼야지 연구를 사버지기 뽑아줘야지 그래서 성디 기기나 내면에 왔다가
His Holiness said the books that Tibetans have published in exile on science and philosophy have reached universities in Tibet, and that Chinese scholars have been impressed by the scientific character of this presentation of Tibetan Buddhism.
진짜 아주 안되디 지금 semkam을 봐. 진짜 아주 탭 서셔버디 별에 개인안에 규리제 변화리야 리기열이 다 민망기도 통해야 말이지 지 유니버시티에 가셔기 줄라로는 가셔기디 통해야 연구도가 저성의 개미 신전 개발된 적이 벽의 낭수디 배 체리도 투버리샤스 되게 도난층에
Thousands of devotees attended His Holiness's teaching on 8 verses for training the mind and 37 practices of a bodhisattva. The teaching was requested by the Tibetan communities of North America. Chinese court has sentenced a Tibetan nomad from Machin Golok Prefecture in Tibet earlier this month. Rights defenders, a Chinese blog site, reported on December the 14th that Lhundup Doji was sentenced to a 1-year prison term by the Golok Prefecture Intermediate Court on charges of inciting separatism for forwarding and posting contents that China considers illegal, including picture and teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama on his Weibo account and WeChat account since 2019. On February 5th, 2019, Lhundup Doji reportedly posted a New Year's greeting video wishing Tibetan government in exile staff on his Weibo account, which was clicked 2,383 times. He also shared a 10-second video of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in his friends circle on WeChat. This year, on March 11th, Lhundup Doji had reportedly retweeted a graphic on Weibo containing Tibetan independence content. A few months later, he posted a message in praise of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, along with a photo of His Holiness as a child on Weibo. Lhundup Doji was reportedly arrested on July 23rd and was held in detention for 5 months until his sentencing. He has reportedly accepted the charges against him and does not seek to appeal the sentence. Lhundup Doji, born on August 7, 1990, hails from Kangri village, Machin County in Golok Prefecture in traditional province of Amdo, incorporated into China's Qinghai province after the annexation of Tibet. Tibetans and Tibet supporters celebrate as the United States President Donald Trump this Sunday signed the Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020 into law. The Central Tibetan Administration welcomed this historic development. Its President Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Sengge said this legislation sends a powerful message of hope and justice to the Tibetans inside Tibet and bolsters United States support for the protection of Tibetan people's religious freedom, human rights, environmental rights, and exiled Tibetan democracy like never before. The Speaker of the Tibetan Parliament in exile thanked the United States President for his indefatigable support in taking strong measures against China. President Dr. Lobsang Sengge, who returned to Dharamshala on Tuesday this week after successfully lobbying for the Tibetan Policy and Support Act, has thanked the United States Senate Foreign Relations Committee led by Senator James Rick for the official statement on the Tibetan Policy and Support Act.
Hello everybody and Tashidale. Happy New Year to all of you. This new year will begin with a very good news for Tibet and Tibetan supporters. The US Congress passed the Tibetan Policy and Support Act, which was signed by the President of America. Now it's a law that America stands with the Tibetan people. This is a tribute to a great legacy of His Holiness, the great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. This is in solidarity and support for 6 million Tibetans who are suffering in Tibet. This is a major boost to the Tibetan freedom struggle. I'm very grateful that the people and government of America is saying that we are with you. We feel your pain to Tibetans inside Tibet. And I hope Beijing hears it loud and clear. The Tibet issue will never be forgotten. Tibet issue will have support from around the world. That's why I want to wish all our friends around the world that this new year bring you good health, good karma, and much happiness this year. I hope the pandemic which originated in Wuhan will be over soon, and then we'll get back to normal life. And we should always remember the pain caused by this pandemic. Lack of transparency from the Chinese government has led to this major disaster and sufferings around the world. I hope that the new year will also be a great new beginning for the Tibetan freedom struggle, and you all will be with us through this year and in future, so that very soon the aspirations of Tibetans in Tibet be fulfilled. That is, to see the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and basic freedom restored in Tibet.
United States Senator Jim Risch, Chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Ben Cardin, and Senator Dianne Feinstein released a statement last week welcoming the passage of their bipartisan Tibet Policy and Support Act. The Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020 strengthens the Tibetan Policy Act of 2002 to address emerging human rights, religious freedom, and other challenges faced by the Tibetan people. The Code Group for Tibetan Cause, headed by Sri R.K. Khirme, in a press release also welcomed the United States' move, stating this has paved way for the world leaders to act bold against China. The statement makes an appeal to the Indian people to pressurize the government to have a clear policy on Tibet, as the issue of Tibet directly concerns the security of India. Anand Dawa, the last surviving personal bodyguard of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, passed away last Sunday at the age of 83 in Minnesota. Anand Dawa was only 15 when he joined the personal army of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Norbulinga, Tibet. After 4 years, he was formally inducted in the army and continued to serve as personal guard to His Holiness through his schooling in Sera, Drepung, and Gandhe monasteries for the next 4 years, and particularly during the Lhasa Malam ceremony when His Holiness was receiving Geshe Haramba degree in February 1959. In the most critical turn of events in March 1959, Anand Dawa, at the risk of his own life, fulfilled his duties to ensure the safe passage of the Tibetan spiritual leader to exile. Anandawa and another bodyguard were asked by His Holiness to accompany him to Mussoorie, where His Holiness would establish his first residence. He was among the first batch of 50 students who enrolled in the Tibetan Refugee Educational Institute in Mussoorie, established in 1960. After completing schooling, Anandawa pursued his further studies in the United States at Cornell University and later at Boston, from where he graduated with distinction. He served the Tibetan community in India and Nepal until 1996, when he immigrated to Minnesota through the resettlement policy and retired from service, where he lived for the rest of his life. As part of CTA's year-long celebration of gratitude to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Office of Tibet Canberra organized In Conversation with Go Lobsang Jimba, a virtual interactive discussion with former Secretary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama Lobsang Jimba, who spoke on the outstanding contributions and achievements of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. Lobsang Jimba served as the Secretary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama between 1993 to 2005. After a brief retirement, he resumed his service as the Secretary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama for another few years. He is also a former CTE official who served for over 34 years and was a member of the second fact-finding delegation to Tibet. A new edition of Hidden Tibet was released in Russian, authored by Dr. Sergei Kuzmin. Speaking on the release, the author noted, since 2010, many events have taken place within Tibet and in the world that needs to be discussed. In this regard, this particular publication includes the chapter Tibet in 2010 to 2019. This book includes some new photographs from this period. While thanking the author and translators, Honorary Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche said the book is one of the best books compiled in modern times on the issues of Tibet. The book traces the history of Tibetan civilization from ancient times to the present day and talks about the life of Tibetans before and after the annexation of Tibet into the People's Republic of China. The current edition was prepared 10 years after its first publication. Since its publication in 2010, it has been translated into English, Chinese, and Mongolian languages, and recently partly into Tibetan as well. That is all for this week. We at Tibet TV wish all its viewers a very happy and a healthy new year. See you next week.